Hey, welcome back to SupeRonpoNatural, the video series where I recap and review every single Supernatural episode. There are a lot. Man, YouTube is weird. Episode 1 has like 1,300 views right now, and episode 2 has like 60? I don't get it. Actually, now that I think of it, I guess that means episode 1 was bad, but let's not think about the implications. Let's hop right into episode 3, Dead in the Water. Ah, a happy American family. Presumably played by Canadians because this was filmed in Vancouver. Dad tells a cute daughter to be careful. She says she will. The fact that it's the beginning of a Supernatural episode says she won't be careful enough. She goes for a dip in the lake. Obligatory underwater butt shot. She swims. Obligatory underwater crotch shot. Wow, another butt shot. This is basically the CW version of full frontal nudity. Oh, she's dead. To the boys. They're at a diner. Surprise, surprise. Wow, Horny Ron is really enjoying this episode. Yeah, bro, this is one of my favorites. Case in point. Hashtag male gaze. Dean found a case. Lots of drownings at Lake Manitowoc, Wisconsin. No bodies found. Man, Dean's looking good in this one. Hashtag male gaze. Sam gets a bit sassy. He's getting antsy to find Dad so he can find his girlfriend's killer, but Dean wants to find— No, you've had enough! Stop it! As I was saying, Dean wants to find and kill monsters. They talk to the brother of the dead girl with a nice butt. Turns out she was a varsity swimmer, which makes it really weird that she drowned. Sam asks about the kid's dad, who's sitting and staring out at the water forlornly, but come on, his daughter just died, so it's fair to give him some space. Plus you gotta pad out the run. Plus you gotta pad out the run. Hey, plus you gotta pad out the run. Plus you gotta pad out the runtime. Oh, now they're the prettiest wildlife service workers in the world. They ask about animals that could have killed the girl, but the sheriff says there are no indigenous carnivores in the lake. Luckily, it won't be a problem much longer because the dam's falling apart. In 6 months, the lake will be gone and the town will follow soon behind. Dean has a moment with the pretty daughter Andrea, and let me tell you, this will not be the last moment he has with a pretty lady. Not even the last one this episode, because he manages to rope her into showing him to the motel 2 blocks away. Then she absolutely owns Dean.
Must be hard with your sense of direction. Never being able to find your way to a decent pickup line.
Oh! Research time. There are 3 drowning victims this year and 6 more over the past 35 years. No bodies recovered, so the deaths are speeding up. They learned that one of the victims was Andrea's husband. His son, Lucas, was the kid we saw at the sheriff's office. Sam and Dean find her at the park, and at this point, you really need to remember that they're good-looking guys. If I did this, it would probably come off a lot more creepy. But they are incredibly handsome, especially Dean. Golly, I'd change teams for him in a heartbeat, so apparently it doesn't. Dean bonds with Lucas, who's drawing some pictures. Kid doesn't talk much. There are those pretty eyes again. Hold me back! Dean successfully bonds with the kid, because the kid saw something terrible happen to his dad, and Dean saw something terrible happen to his mom. He gives the kid a picture. It's a nice moment. Then it's the cutest part of the whole dang episode. Lucas walks up and shyly gives Dean a drawing. Oh my god, it's so cute. My wife's 4 months pregnant right now, so it hits way harder now than it did in my previous watches. I'm all gearing up for dad mode. Totally unrelated, here's my Patreon. Using my kid to beg for money before they're even born yet. I'm gonna be a great dad. Scene change. Dead girl's bro is making dinner. You'll see him carve the fish head off with that lighting and the muted colors. Gives me the heebie-jeebies. Ugh. The water gets all gross. Then the water starts bubbling up. Then it stops. Whoops, the plug was in the sink earlier, and now it's on the table beside it, and now he's pulling it out of the sink. Where's continuity? Continuity, come on, you guys have one job! The plug doesn't do anything, so he reaches back in. Then he gets yanked under. Looks like he's going to drown in the sink, but then at the last second, he drowns in the sink. Did I fool ya? Do you think he gets saved? Nope, he's dead too. Sam and Dean find out about the kid's death. Clearly, it's not a creature. They realize that the reason the deaths are speeding up is that the lake is draining, and whatever is killing people needs to hurry before the water's gone. Also, they realize that 3 of the deaths are related to Bill Carlton, the sad dad. His 2 kids are dead, plus Lucas's dad is his godson, so they're off to visit Bill. They ask him if he thinks he's connected to the deaths. He tells them to go away. He's understandably sad, but kind of a suspicious way. As they leave, Dean realizes that the drawing Lucas gave him matches the cabin where the son drowned. Pretty eyes. So they go to visit Andrea to talk to Lucas. Dean goes to bond with Lucas again, kiddo. He asks how Lucas knew to draw the cabin, because it seemed like he predicted that something bad would happen there. Dean brings up his dead mom again, really getting a lot of mileage out of that one, but it works, and the kid, who hasn't spoken since his dad died, looks up and continues not to speak. Did I get you that time? No? Dang. Anyway, he gives Dean another drawing. Sam points out that traumatic experiences can awaken psychic tendencies, which could explain Lucas's drawings, which started after his dad's death. Man alive, a lot of this episode is about people dying or having died to the point where it's getting a bit less impactful. I miss when it was just butts and boobs. No, stay away. Anyway, they go looking for the church in the drawing, but not before another heart-to-heart. They find the church, then find the house near the church with the fence.
Just like the
Kid drew. They ask about the little boy in the drawing. She does the classic, "He's been gone for 35 years now."
Been dead for 10 years.
Nobody knows what happened. He just disappeared. Awfully fishy. Get it? Fish? Cause the lake? Alright, it wasn't my best. Shut up. We're moving on. They learned that the kid, Peter, was friends with sad dad Bill. Speaking of, Bill's doing some super understandable moping by the lake. He's talking to the lake or something, saying he knows what it wants. Meanwhile, Sam and Dean are theorizing that maybe Peter's spirit wants revenge. Back to the lake. Dad's going out into the water in his boat. Sam and Dean try to stop him, but they don't. Then he dies. And if you're thinking maybe the spirit's happy now and maybe it's all over, sorry, we're only 25 minutes into the episode. Sam and Dean go to the sheriff's. Andrea and Lucas are there. Lucas freaks out a bit, but he still won't freaking talk, which is awfully inconvenient. Pretty eyes. The boys tell the sheriff how sad Dad died. He's suspicious. But again, as with the guide last episode, it's totally reasonable because nobody thinks vengeful water spirits exist. Plus, he's learned that they're not actually with the Wildlife Service. So once again, the weird, sexy drifters who show up just when people start going missing come off a wee bit suspicious.
Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious.
Lucky for them, someone saw sad dad Bill going out in his boat, so the sheriff tells them to leave or he'll arrest them. They choose to leave, except there are still 15 minutes left in the episode and the kid still hasn't talked, so we all know they're not leaving for good. Speaking of, we get a brief shot of the kid drawing a swirl, which looks like a whirlpool. Back to the boys. Dean has a moment of thought, then he turns back towards town instead of going to the interstate. Okay, she's taking a bath, so I'll just let Horny Ron take over. Yeah, this episode rocks! I know I'm not going to see anything, but I'm still craning my neck, you know? Damn, I wish I was a foot guy. This would be a real jackpot moment for me. That's enough, Horny Ron. The water's getting gross. She doesn't notice until she starts getting dragged into the water. No, shut up, you're not going to see anything! Her kid's banging on the door. Wait, was that an actual butt? Wow, season 1 is horny. Yeah, go ahead. Alright, that's enough. Sam and Dean get to the house. Lucas lets them in. Sam pulls her out of the tub and she survives. Absolutely traumatic. And sexy. No, shut up. Go away. There's nothing left for you in this episode. They talk with Andrea about her experience. She heard a voice while it was happening. It said, "Come play with me." Seriously, Dean's looking great this episode. Oh, now it's Sam with the pretty eyes. Where'd those things come from? They learn that both sad dad Bill and the sheriff were involved in Peter's drowning. Then Lucas suddenly walks away and leads them to a random spot on the ground. They dig and find Peter's bike buried there. But then Jake the sheriff shows up with a gun. They confront him about Peter's death. Andrea tells Lucas to go to his room, then she runs to the guys. Sam and Dean explain that Peter's ghost is going to kill everyone Jake loves before killing him. He calls him insane, and again, fair. And of course, Lucas runs off. They always do. Andrea tells her dad what happened to her, and he confesses that he and Billy had been bullying Peter. They were holding his head underwater, they held it too long, and he drowned. They let the body go in the water, which is bad news for the whole burn the body plan. Then they notice Lucas is reaching into the water for his army man like an idiot. He gets yoinked by a grudge-looking kid. Sam and Dean do sick dives into the water, but they can't get him. Then the sheriff goes into the water, calling out to Peter, finally accepting the craziness. He gets yoinked while doing funny little paddles with his hands. Then Dean surfaces with Lucas. Ooh, he is so getting some. Skip to the next day, I guess. Andrea and Lucas are like oddly cheerful considering her dad, his grandfather, just drowned. But people get over stuff quick on this show. And then, you're never, ever gonna believe this because it totally wasn't obviously gonna happen at the end of the episode. Lucas talks! And yeah, you may have picked up on my subtle clues that I saw this coming, but I'll be damned if it didn't make me tear up anyway. Dean coaches a kid to say Zeppelin rules, which is extra fitting because Jensen Ackles named his son in real life Zeppelin. Dean gets a nice smooch on the lips this episode. His eyes are pretty. Then they hop into the car and they're off on a new adventure. And that's the episode. It's a pretty good one, albeit a bit predictable. I like that the Monster of the Week basically just won though. Like it got everything it wanted and went away, which is kind of interesting. I'll give it a base score of 7.5 out of 10, but I'll take away 0.5 points because it was a bit predictable. But Horny Ron insists that I give it an extra point because of all the TNA, so I guess the final score is 8 out of 10. Yeah, you're welcome. I'll leave you with a fun fact. The boys apparently got into a real-life bar fight sometime before filming this episode, so apparently Jared's hand was injured, maybe broken. Kind of reports kind of vary. I actually have the script of a TV Guide interview here, but I'll do a dramatic reenactment of it because reading notes on a page is a little boring. But note, this was not a video interview. This was just written. The video is just me editing it with my voice and my facial expressions, so this is not a real video. I don't want to be caught awry of deep fakes. This is a very shallow fake. Is it true that you and Jared had a bonding experience when you were attacked by some rowdy Canadians? You mean when Jared, his buddy Jordan, and I were jumped by 7 or 8 guys? There'd been this fight at a bar and these guys got kicked out. They were pretty tanked. This one girl sees me walking by and says, "That's the guy," meaning she knew me from the show, but they thought I was some guy she had been fighting with. They started swinging at me and it was an all-out brawl. How'd you do? We got away and put 2 of them in the hospital. I got away first, then I turned around and saw 3 or 4 guys teaming up on Jared. I was like, oh man. I ran back in, I was fly kicking at some kid, hit another guy, grabbed Jared's shirt. Of course, I ripped his favorite shirt. And I was yelling, "Come on, let's get out of here." We were pretty tight after that. There you have it. I'm not an impressionist, as you can see. But hopefully it made it a little more interesting. Anyway, there you have it. Episode 3 is down the hatch, plus you got a fun little story about a bar brawl. Now, I'll admit that with some of Jared Padalecki's recent shenanigans, it brings into question whether that was actually the whole story of the bar brawl, but, I'm not here to speculate. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode of SupeRonpoNatural, and I hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay sane, and stay smiling.